The locals called it the ghost boat. No one dared to go near the half-sunken wreck tied to the edge of Clearwater Lake. But when a retired veteran named Ethan Cole bought it for just $300, people laughed. "You can't fix that thing," they said. "It's dead." Yet, Ethan wasn't after treasure. He was looking for peace. His only companion, a loyal German shepherd named Rex, stood by his side as they stepped aboard. But the moment Rex began growling toward the lower deck, Ethan realized this wasn't just an old boat. Something, or someone, was hidden beneath the rotten floorboards. What they uncovered next would make headlines across the country. The sun was barely rising over Clearwater Lake when Ethan Cole parked his old pickup by the shore. The water shimmered like glass, broken only by the reflection of a decaying houseboat, half sunken, tilting to one side, its paint peeling like dead skin. The locals called it the ghost boat. They said it had drifted there after a storm years ago, abandoned by fate itself. Ethan stepped out slowly, his loyal German shepherd, Rex, trotting beside him. "What do you think, boy?" he muttered. The dog tilted his head, tail low, eyes fixed on the wreck. Most saw a pile of rot and rust. Ethan saw something else, a mirror of himself. He'd been a soldier once, strong, fearless, alive. But after the war, silence became his only companion. When he saw the ad reading, "Old houseboat, $300 or best offer," something inside him stirred. Maybe fixing it would fix him. He climbed aboard. The wood creaked under his boots, the air thick with the smell of mold and river water. Faded graffiti marked the walls, initials, dates, forgotten memories. Rex sniffed the corners, uneasy. Then came a low growl. Ethan froze. The boat wasn't entirely empty. That night, the rain came down hard, drumming on the old roof like 1,000 restless fingers. Ethan sat inside the dimly lit cabin of the houseboat, sipping instant coffee, listening to the storm rage outside. Everything was still, until Rex lifted his head sharply, ears twitching. Then it came again, clang. A hollow metallic sound from beneath the floor. Ethan frowned. "Probably just the wind," he muttered, but Rex didn't buy it. The dog padded to a rusted hatch near the small kitchen area, sniffing aggressively. The metal lock glinted faintly, newer than the rest of the boat. Someone had sealed it shut, deliberately. The next morning, sunlight broke through the mist. Ethan began cleaning, sweeping away layers of dust and peeling wallpaper. Inside an old drawer, he found something odd, a water-damaged map marked Cargo Route, Coast Guard Patrol. But the map was torn in half. That night, the same metallic sound returned, louder, closer, echoing beneath the floorboards. Rex growled, scratching at the hatch again. Ethan grabbed a crowbar and forced it open. A foul stench burst out, a mix of stagnant water and rust. Inside was a flooded compartment. Something metallic shimmered beneath the murky water. Ethan reached in. His fingers brushed against a small, rusted box stamped with bold letters. U.S. Coast Guard, Confidential. Ethan set the rusted box on the table, water dripping onto the wooden floor. His hands shook slightly as he forced it open. Inside, metal containers gleamed faintly beneath layers of grime. They were heavy, airtight, and each stamped with complex serial numbers, military grade. "What on earth?" he whispered. Rex sat beside him, head tilted, eyes fixed on the box as if sensing something far bigger than either of them understood. Ethan pried one container open with the edge of his knife. The lid creaked, and for a moment, all he saw was darkness. Then, a glint. Gold. Bars, small but dense, marked with federal insignias. He froze. "No way," he breathed. These weren't ordinary treasures. They were classified cargo. He searched further, pulling out 3 more sealed cases, each packed the same way. At the bottom of the hatch, he found a waterlogged leather wallet containing a Coast Guard ID. The name read, Lieutenant Ryan D. Harlow. The memory hit him instantly. A Coast Guard officer who went missing 3 years ago during a storm that had devastated the region. Ethan looked at the ID, then at the sealed boxes. This wasn't just an abandoned vessel. It was a ghost from a forgotten mission, one carrying secrets that were never meant to resurface. By the third day, Ethan had restored part of the deck, cleaned the cabins, and even repaired the leaking roof. But his thoughts never left the mysterious boxes below. Every time he looked at them, unease crawled up his spine. Rex seemed restless too, pacing the boat, ears twitching, growling at every noise that came from the woods. Late one evening, as the fog rolled in from the lake, Ethan heard the crunch of gravel outside. Headlights flickered through the trees. A black SUV stopped near the shore. Two men stepped out, suits, dark glasses, and expressions as cold as the river wind. One called out, "Mr. Cole." His tone wasn't a question. It was a warning. Ethan tensed. "Who are you?" he asked. The man smiled thinly. "Government contractors," he said. "We heard you purchased an old vessel recently. We'd like to take a look inside." Rex barked, stepping between them, hackles raised. The other man adjusted his jacket. Ethan caught a glimpse of something metallic beneath. A weapon. Instinctively, his soldier's mind kicked in. "I think you're mistaken," Ethan said quietly. "There's nothing here worth your trouble." The man's smile vanished. "You'd be surprised," he replied, eyes narrowing toward the hatch below deck, the one that hid the Coast Guard's lost cargo. The next morning, the fog had thickened over the lake like a curtain, muffling every sound. Ethan hadn't slept. The words of the suited men echoed in his head. They knew, and they'd be back. Rex paced nervously, tail stiff, as if sensing the danger too. Ethan opened one of the sealed boxes again, hoping to find something, anything, that could explain the truth before someone else decided to bury it. This time, at the very bottom, beneath the gold bars, he found a weathered waterproof envelope. Inside were documents, stamped, "Top Secret, Evidence Transfer." His heart pounded as he skimmed the pages. They weren't just carrying gold. They were transporting proof of a massive corruption ring within the Coast Guard itself. He dropped the papers, realization flooding over him. This was why the ship vanished. It hadn't been an accident. Someone made sure it disappeared, along with Lieutenant Ryan Harlow. Ethan sat on the deck, staring out at the water. "You didn't drown, did you?" he murmured, clutching the ID card. "You were silenced." Rex nudged his hand, breaking the silence. Ethan looked down at him, resolve hardening. "We can't keep this," he said quietly. "We have to finish what he started." And for the first time in years, the soldier in him awakened. Weeks later, Clearwater Lake glistened under the morning sun. The investigation had ended, the news had quieted, and the boat, once a wreck of rust and secrets, floated proudly once more. Ethan sat on the deck, coffee steaming in his hand, watching the soft ripples spread across the water. Rex lay beside him, head resting on Ethan's boot, eyes half closed in peace. The Coast Guard had recovered the evidence, cleared Harlow's name, and even awarded Ethan quietly for his integrity. But he'd refused money, interviews, and headlines. All he kept was Harlow's badge, polished, framed, and hung inside the cabin. A reminder that honor didn't die with war, it lived through choices. As the sun began to set, the lake turned golden. Ethan smiled faintly, whispering, "We found more than treasure, didn't we, boy?" Rex wagged his tail, ears perking at the soft lapping of water that he leaned back, closing his eyes as the wind carried the faint creak of the old boat. No longer a ghost, but a home. The world had forgotten Ethan Cole the soldier. But now, as he sat with his loyal companion, he finally understood peace. Sometimes, the greatest treasures aren't found. They're earned through doing what's right when no one's watching.